This is Thor, and this is Thor's roadmap to success. This is a bully stick. One of the things I talk to the guardians about is giving him appropriate chew items to chew on. Dogs, when they're stressed, like to release a lot of the frustration and stress in chewing. So I like the guardians to get him an assortment of appropriate chew toys. So bully sticks are much better. You don't want to give your dogs rawhides. Those are soaked in formaldehyde, bleach, ammonia, a lot of other nasty chemicals. And the guardian's not in their head, so they're already aware of this, but a lot of people don't know that, and they can lead to health risks. Bully sticks are good for dogs to have. I also like, if you go to the green spot, I would suggest you get some cow knees. You can get some tracheas, you can chicken feet, duck feet, turkey feet. They also have like cow cheeks, cow ears. They have like kind of a buffet of all sorts of stuff that we would think are nasty, but it's great for the dogs to chew on. Now these are ingestible or edible items. This is not like Colorado or California edible. These are not psychotropic. But basically having a bunch of these high value items is really helpful. So if you do have a guest comes by and he's being a pill, we can give him one of these things. He's gonna be very interested in chewing on it. Bully bite's probably going to last about 2 to 3 minutes. A bully stick probably up to 15 minutes. Longer one even more. Now, I'd also like him to have an assortment of appropriate chew items. So like 2 or 3 real bones, 2 or 3 antlers, 2 or 3, well, I guess one or two water buffalo horns. Water buffalo horn will stink kind of for a couple days, but after about a week or 2, it will stop stinking. So water buffalo horn, make sure it's solid. He has gone through and destroyed a lot of toys. I'm guessing the guardians already know this, but if you're watching at home, Kong items, the black is the more durable color of Kong, so you have a really heavy chewer. Now he's under exercised, and I think it's contributed to some of his chewing items, but they need hard things to chew on. And so these are things where he can chew on and get a good chew without ingesting them. Eventually the antler will get worn down and the bone might as well. The water buffalo horn will probably outlast the dog. And then having those high value edible items for times we need to distract him would be very helpful. All right, so we started off talking about exercise, because I think more than anything else, he needs a lot of exercise. He is a pretty not high energy, but he has a lot of energy for a pitty. And so, and he's intimidating for some people. And I think that he went from a situation where it was just him and his guardian, to now it's him as guardian. We have a partner and we have kids, and so there's a lot more people in the house. He's getting a lot less attention. And I think as a result of that, he's probably a little bit discouraged from that. He's probably a little bit frustrated. He's not getting as much exercise. And the dynamic in the house has obviously changed when you have kids. So we went over some creative ways of exercise. And one of them was throwing treats up and down the stairs. Talk to Dr. Zimmerman over at Benson Animal Clinic to make sure that he's okay with him going up and down the stairs and that sort of repetitive activity. We don't want to make it worse. He could also chase the laser. Some dogs, it's not healthy for them to chase the laser. They get almost like they're addicted to crack or something. He is about as high a level as I would allow a dog to chase a laser without saying that he's passed that threshold. Remember when he's getting mischievous or naughty, that's probably his way of saying, I don't have enough exercise. So we use the laser and ran him up and down the stairs. When you're doing the laser on the stairs, run it on the base, on the wall of the stair, not on the steps, because he'll miss it when it goes from one step to the next going down. So I ran it on the side, then I ran it up the wall, then I ran it back up the next side, and did a U-turn, and we went back. After like about 5 up downs, he was pretty pooped. I would figure out what his maximum number is, like we talked about off camera. Start that exercise journal, keep that for about a month. That way you can kind of go through, is he bleeding a little bit? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the idea is the exercise journal, we start writing down the times that we exercised him, so we start seeing the frequency. And at the end of the day, write a letter grade A through F. If you got anything other than an A, the next day exercise him a little bit more. Maybe instead of 5 up downs the stairs, maybe go to 10. Or instead of doing the stairs 2 times a day, maybe do it 4 times a day. The 5 up and downs the stairs is probably about a minute. I think if you can get like whatever you find out that appropriate amount is, and you can start getting it to him every the reason of the exercise journal is to figure out how often the frequency needs to be. Yes, I know it's hard being a Thor. I'll just pat you like this. Look at that glorious head. All right, so the idea is to also write down times when he barks at the other dog, or he knocks the kid down, or he gets bouncy or barky or whatever it is. Something we interpret as being mischievous, but it's actually probably his way of saying I need some exercise. So you see right now, he's a little bit winded. We just did the video above outside. It's a little bit warm. Go get some water, buddy. Not Hunter's water, you gotta go get your water. You don't have lips, you can't use that. All right, you're just gonna lay down there right there? All right, that'll work. I'll move over. Crash. There we go, crash. So the idea is we want to basically keep that data for about 2 to 4 weeks, so we start noticing every time it's longer than this period of time, that's when he seems to get in trouble. Well, let's start beating him the punch, and you'll work it into your schedule how much exercise he needs. I'm guessing it's going to be like probably 7 to 10 like 1 to 4 minute exercise sessions sprinkled throughout the day. And the nice thing is grandma can help. A lot of people can help with the stairs with that. We also taught him how to drop so that he can do the fetch, because right now his guardians were taking it from him. That becomes a game, and that tells the dog, by holding onto this object, the human's interested in me. As soon as I give it up, they'll lose interest, and that's why they don't play fetch. So now that we've taught him to drop, every time he has an item in his mouth, remember, pull out a treat, hold it in front of his nose, and just wait. And when he drops, pop it in his mouth and say drop. Don't tell him to drop. You can test it every once in a while, but you want to get to the point where you say drop and he spits it out when he can't see your face. So if he's here and he had something in his mouth, I'd say like drop. If I turned and looked and he had dropped it, I know that he has the verbal command. Most dogs actually learn the cue first. Thank you, buddy. Sit. You want to give me some kisses? Yes, he's a very happy boy. All right, so that'll help with the exercise journal will help. I'm going to have you come over here, buddy. Thank you. Give myself a little bit of authority. Yes, I think he's getting a little bit rambunctious. So even though he's tired, now, he might be overly tired. We have little kids in the house, and you've noticed probably sometimes they don't have enough energy, they get rowdy. Sometimes they get too much exercise, they need a nap as well. That might be the case for Thor. So it would be nice if he actually had an area that he could go to. We're calling this Cancun. There we go. It's like, I know you don't have anything. So again, you want to have the treat handy. That way you can get him to drop it. So practice the drop just periodically throughout the day. Every time he picks up a bully or the collar or something like that, pull out a treat and just hold it in front of his mouth and wait. All right, so we also talked about rules and structure. Come, that's passive training. We'll talk about that in a minute. So for rules is basically, if he doesn't have a lot of rules, he doesn't see his guardians acting like a leader, at least from a dog's perspective. You have to burn energy to really get considered. Crash, that's passive training. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I could have already just rewarded for the drop there as well. But for dogs, burning energy is like a form of currency. If they don't see us enforcing rules, we don't get credit for being a leader. So some of the rules I went over: not being allowed the furniture for at least 66 days, or if not longer than that, as long as the problems are still going on, really. And then after that, with invitation only. Now, to help keep them off the furniture, I recommend the guardians get X mats, put them on each cushion, and that'll keep them off of the couch. Same time, we taught him how to use the dog bed, which we're calling Cancun, which is I'm on right now. Now, make sure you go to Groupon and get a dog bed, light cream, white, or light gray, so that and no pattern. So when you toss the treat on it, he can see it with contrast. And if you get him dog bedded in your bedroom as well, name that one something else. Maybe call that one Mozzarella or whatever it is. So come up with funny words. Also, I'd like the guardians to come up with a list of the official command words. Put it on their fridge or wherever it is, and if somebody's saying, come here, the word is come, they say vocabulary to me, I say, thank you, come, or here, or whatever the word is. So it just makes it easier if we only use the official command word. Most of us come up with multiple versions of the command. Come, here, come here, come here, over here, here boy, and so on and so forth. If you speak English, they all mean the same thing. If you don't, then they're basically just more vocabulary he has to listen for. So not being allowed in the furniture would be rule 1. Not being allowed in the kitchen would be another rule. Now, the way I would do that is basically I would go to the kitchen, have a treat, throw a treat outside of the kitchen. When he goes out and gets it, say the word out. Then he'll come back in, throw a second treat out. And so the idea for this is we're teaching him and rewarding him for leaving the room. And after enough repetition, then eventually we can just say out, and the dog just gleefully goes out, and then we give him the treat afterwards. So let me see, other rules, you have to sit at the door. I go to the door and I say sit once. If the dog does not sit within 3 seconds, I walk away, sit down somewhere. If he tries to hump or jump up, and you sit somewhere taller or just stand. Wait 1 minute, then go back to the door and command him to sit again only one time. If he doesn't do it within 3 seconds this time, I walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. I keep double the length of time until eventually when I go say sit, boom, that butt hits the ground. And as soon as it does, then I fly the door open. First, you want to do it with whatever direction he wants, then you would do it in both directions. After a while, he'll just go sit at the door as his way of indicating I'd like to go outside. Also, make sure he doesn't go through the door ahead of you if you're going outside. Make sure he doesn't race up and down the stairs ahead of you. For the stairs, you just teach him a stay command, and I have that on my website. Just go to doggoneproblems.com, click on Dog Training Tips. On the right side of the page, there's a search box. You search for any of the things we're going over. So teach for stay command. And teach him to stay, then put him in stay, and then you go to the bottom of the stairs and then call him. And after he's practiced that enough, yes, I know you want to jump up on me, I can tell. Thank you, come. Yes, he wants to play. So again, this should be interpreted as I need some exercise, and play the fetch with him a little bit. I think really, once you teach him how to fetch, that's going to be a wonderful way for you to burn some excess energy and have some fun times with him. All right, we also talked about passive training and petting with a purpose. Petting with a purpose is if he comes up and nudges me or leans against me or paws me or jumps up, he's telling me what to do. Instead of doing what he wants, I'm going to give him a counter order. I usually like to do it like this. Sit. And then I pet under the chin and say the word sit. Right there, I didn't have to give him a treat. He's happy to do it. A lot of times you'll have to have a treat. If you do have the treat, tell him to rack it over his hand, over his head in an arc to get him to sit. When he sits, lower it, let him lick it off your hand, and then tickle him under his chin and say the word sit. Remember to say only the command word. Don't say good sit or what a good boy. If you're using a positive marker, you can do that. Most people don't do it. They just talk way too much to their dogs. How about we down? There we go. Crash. That's passive training, which we're going to talk about in a sec, I promise. So petting with a purpose, if he comes and tells me he wants attention, I'm going to give him a counter order. If he's already sitting here, I make him sit over here or make him lay down. After a while, he'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention, because that's what gets his attention, or it gets affection. Most of us train our dogs to misbehave because misbehaving is when we stop and we interrupt them, because we don't want them jumping at the door or chewing the kids' toys. When it comes to us, we ignore it. When it sits, we ignore it. Lays down, we ignore it. Well, with petting with a purpose, we're not ignoring it. We are rewarding him for the things that we say that we want, and we're showing through our actions we actually do like those things. So remember to pet him under his chin. Say sit once. So you pet him as many times as you want after that, but he has to sit. You have to pet him at least once when he sits. He will start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention once he figures this out. When he does, make sure you pet him for that as well. You pet him anywhere you want, just avoid patting him on top of his head. Now, passive training, which is what I was talking about before, is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior without any influence whatsoever. So if you watched the video earlier, he came to me, I pet him and said, come. He sat, I pet him and say, sit. He lays down, I pet him and say, crash. So we're just waiting for the dog to voluntarily do it. Like I said earlier, anything our dog is doing when we pet is what we're rewarding. So if we pay attention to what he's doing, and when he does the things we want, we reward him, he is much more inclined to do that activity again in the future. It takes a little bit of practice and some attention. I like using watchwords for this. So I say paycheck. If I suspect someone's petting without a purpose, that person has to stop petting, tell him to sit, pet him under the chin, say sit, and then you can tell him, I did it right, you just didn't see me do it. He stood up when he came in the room. Just don't argue about it, just repeat it again. Passive training, I use the watchword of paycheck, or of recognize, reward, or testify. And so every time the dog comes to me and somebody says testify, I look at the dog. If he's standing there, I pet him and say come. If he's sitting there, I pet him and say sit, and so on. Name all your original toys. I come up with a command word for eating. That's another rule I forgot to go over. Right now, the guardians leave the food in his bowl all the time. That is a really important thing for dogs. So I want the guardians to go to a structured feeding. That's also something you search for on my website. Put the food in his bowl. Don't let him eat it. Then you eat something in 5 more bites. Then invite him to eat. And if he doesn't eat, he walks away, you pick it up, dump the bowl empty, but it's important to put the empty bowl back down. So he walks by and recognizes it's empty, it's empty, it's empty. That way he sees the human eats first, so the human has more rank, the human is in control of the food, so the human get credit for being a leader. And it helps him practice some self-restraint. Just because there's food in the bowl doesn't mean I can eat it. I have to wait for my guardians to give me permission to do it. Building in self-control is going to be really important for him. He doesn't have a lot of practice at impulse control. And now we have little kids in the house, and things can get out of control pretty easily. He's not at all aggressive, but he is very excitable. So remember, if you come in, any activity that he's doing, when he passes level 5 energy, I want you to stop and freeze. And preferably, if you know he's going to get excited, stopping even sooner if it's something I know he's going to get really excited about. But the more we stop and wait for him to settle down, and not calmer, but completely calm. Remember to play the game I talked about, so where you're going to just look at him and say, one of you says 7, and the other one's like, no, that's like level 3 energy. So you're ranking his energy from 1 to 10, and keep on doing that, playing that game until one of you says 7, the other one says, yep, that feels like a 7. Now you kind of know, and that way, anytime he crosses level 5 energy, you can give him that stopping and call it timeout or what you want. But then he learns that once I get too excited, we stop. Remember, don't pet him when he's fearful, anxious, stressed, aggressive, or excited, because that's going to amplify all of those things. Instead, wait for him to settle down. The focus exercise that I showed you, which there's a lot of videos on that as well, is also something that will help him redirect. I would like you to go to my website and search for focus, because there's kind of some steps that you want to follow. You want to get him to focus for up to 15 seconds in the house. Then you want to move it outside and then to walks. and eventually get to the point where the dog just is paying attention to you. We also do the focus game, which is inside. We throw a treat. We have a clicker, and as soon as the dog looks at the treat, we're now watching the dog like a hawk. And as soon as it looks at me, I click, and then I hold the treat out. Make sure you have the treat ready to go. When he looks at you, start lowering, offering it to him. If he doesn't come, start lowering it, lower all the way to the floor. The lower you go, the more appealing it is for the dog. After you practice a while, he's just going to start looking at your face more and more. Right now, he's looking at other things. So inside, we do this for maybe 5 or 6 treats. You throw one, he turns around, looks at you. After he gets it, you click, and then you give him the treat. After you do that, then you can start doing it outside. Now, I'd probably start doing it on the deck up here first and not let him go down, because now you have the smells of outside, but without the grass and all the rest of that stuff. And you want to, when you're going outside or on walks, we're not throwing the treat because he's automatically distracted. We're waiting for him to, we call it reorientating towards me. And when he looks at me, then I click, then I give him and I hold the treat out, and he's got to come to me. Remember to play hard to get with your dog. The more you cater to him and go to him, the more he thinks, yeah, the world is my oyster. So I have a treat here. If you'd like the treat, you got to come 4 feet to get it. The more he approaches you, he's practicing being more of a follower as opposed to being more of a leader. So practice that exercise outside. It gets to the point where, so when you're outside, as soon as he looks at you, you click and give him the treat, then walk about 3 to 5 paces to a different part of the yard. Now, wherever the dog goes, I keep the dog in front of me, so I'm facing the dog at all times. So when he does look at me, I can click and give him that treat. For the clicker, I'm leaving the clicker with you. By the time you watch this, I'm hoping that you've already done this a couple times, but tonight, we're gonna leave whatever we have of these treats here with you, but throw the treat on the ground. When he licks it up, click. You only have to do this maybe about 6 times. So throw 10 treats one at a time. Every time he licks it up, click. Throw another one, click. Another one, click. And then we just want to create that positive association. And never go for his attention or over click, because that's the opposite. Right now we can use it because he's just figuring this out, but we don't want to do that. The click is to indicate the precise second you did what I wanted. I'm going to get a treat in your mouth as soon as I can. And remember, we're always going to put the treat in first and say the command word, and only the command word after. Sit, focus, come, whatever it is. Trying to think, is there anything else that we covered that you want me to go over? Okay, I really think that exercise and enforcing rules is going to really flip the leader-follower dynamic and help him be more motivated to listen to you. Upping his exercise is going to reduce a lot of that mischievous behavior and also make him more easier to pay attention. And then the focus games, the one on the knees, as well as the one where we're tossing the treats or just clicking for eye contact, is also going to help him start paying more attention to you, which is one of the primary issues the guardian wanted to work on, was he doesn't seem like he pays attention to us anymore. He does what he wants to. But the great thing about this is we're using operant conditioning. So we throw the treat, or we're just waiting for him while he's distracted. When he does look at us, we click to indicate that's what I wanted, and I'm going to give you a reward for doing it. All right, Thor, come here, buddy. You're not going to go, so I have to come to you. Is that what it is? Well, this goofball is Thor, and this is Thor's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.